Greetings. Welcome to Boditree Pilates and Healing. My name is Risa Mathews. Today's class is all about low back pain, a very common condition that millions of people around the world suffer from. There often are a variety of reasons why your back might be painful, but what I want to provide you with today is some tools to give you in your toolbox of releases and stretches and exercises that can help you manage your pain. No two bodies are alike, but a lot of these movements that I'm going to share with you are beneficial for anyone who happens to have a spine. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make yourself get yourself down to the floor. And if you need a pillow under your head, it's because you're looking backwards. If you can see the ceiling and the horizon over your knees, you do not need a pillow. Pick one leg up and interlace your hands underneath that knee. Do not pull the knee to your chest. Keep the thigh in a straight line, knee over hip. Interlace your fingers if you can. If you can't, just hold your leg where it is, but try to interlace them if you can, and start drawing circles with the foot. Always traveling the foot outwards. Now, what's important is that a foot circle is not a leg circle, okay? This is not foot circles. It must be from the ankle down only. Once you've done 30 in one direction, you can do 30 in the other. Now, let's say you're doing these foot circles and you just can't get your foot around. It's so painful. That is your body showing you where the problem is. There is a premise with this exercise, the very first exercise in low back pain management. If you feel the foot circles, then you need it. Other side. If you don't feel it, you don't need it. It's very unusual to meet someone in this industry and have them come in as a client to a Pilates studio and they do this and they don't feel pain. It's very unusual. Maybe a ballerina or a gymnast, but that's not our clientele base. Our clientele base are everyday people who know that Pilates are going to help them. But Pilates is quite athletic, and it can be quite confronting and challenging and intimidating to many people. So at Boditree, I have developed a pre-Pilates protocol, and I've now compartmentalized sections of it into these classes for your benefit for pain management. So there's 30 foot circles in each direction on both feet. You're going to feel a lot of tension through your peroneus, your shins. You're going to feel a lot of tension through your foot. That's good. You need to switch on those muscles. Those are very important. The next thing you're going to do is called the glute activation. The first thing you need to realize is that if you have low back pain, there's a strong likelihood that your pelvis is malaligned. It's also a strong likelihood that your feet aren't working optimally because your feet and your hips are first cousins. Your feet and your hips provide support to your spine. When your feet aren't working properly, you can actually put your back out. And when your hips aren't working properly, you can also put your back out and you can also sustain a very significant foot injury. It's very important that the hips are strong and the ankles and the feet are mobile. And foot strength comes from hip strength. There is no foot strength without hip strength first. So what we're going to do now is called the glute activation. You take your legs apart and you can turn them out ever so slightly and lay your forehead down. The first thing you do is engage your abdominals, and that just means suck them in. Then you take one side of your butt, only one side, and then pull that butt and reach it down. Now that's very different from squeezing and lifting it up. You have to reach it down, which means you're doing a slight pelvic tilt. After you've done that, lift the leg up and lower, and then release it all. What you're doing is you're teaching your body how to cue your glute, your abdominals first, then your glute, then your hamstring. When there's back pain, the hamstring often fires before the glute. That is a problem. Other side. Abdominals, 1. Glute, 2. Lift, 3. Lower, release it all, 4. Abdominals, glute, lift, lower, release. Abdominals, one side of your glute only. Lift and lower. One more each side. Abdominals, glute, lift, lower, abdominals, glute, lift, and lower. If it's harder on one side than the other, you're learning about your body. You're learning about one side being dominant and stronger than the other. If you have a scoliosis, you're going to find one side's harder than the other. If you have an injury, you're going to find one side is probably asleep. Runner stretch is the next thing you need to do. You need to stretch your hip flexors. You need to feel your body stretching this way. So you're stretching, you think you're stretching your thigh. You're squeezing your bum and you're activating your glute again here. You can put your hands down. What's important is this knee does not shoot forward from the foot. Take it in as much of a straight line as you can and make sure you're hip width apart. And now squeeze that back leg. Squeeze that back bum. And if you can take it up, great. And the next level is to look up. So you're taking your spine into a curve. You only stay there for about 4 breaths. You don't want to stay in a balancing stretch for long because it is a stretch. You're stretching the hip flexor and the quad, and the glute is going to work. There's a lot going on in the glutes. You know, whenever they're pluralized, it means there's more than one, right? You've got 3 levels of glutes, plus you've got your piriformis underneath it. We always hear about piriformis syndrome. Let's talk about stretching the front of the hips, and you'll feel a lot of relief on your low back. So what have we done so far? We've done foot circles, lying down with your leg at 90 degrees, moving only the foot. You've done your glute activation, lying down on your stomach with your legs slightly turned out, finding your abdominals, then your glute, then lifting the leg. And then we did a runner's stretch, which is really about squeezing this side. Engage that to allow this to release. Now we're going to talk about tractioning your ischial tuberosity. Your ischial tuberosity are referred to in dancers' layman terms as your sits bones. They're the bones in your butt. When you sit down on something like a concrete ledge, you feel those bones in your butt. We often like to sit behind them on our ilium. You need to find those bones, which means you need to sit on your hamstrings. Now, for a lot of people, it's very hard to sit like this, so use your hands if you need to. Now, make sure your knees and your feet are facing the ceiling. Do not let them turn out. Sit, only take them as wide as you're comfortable taking them. They do not need to be cranked open because I don't want you slouching back. You want to sit as tall as you can. The exercise starts as pointing your toes, flexing your feet, keep your heels where they are, lift your knees, and feel those bones shoot down out of your butt into the floor, and then lower. And point, and flex, and traction your sits bones. The heels do not slide. You're not using your hip flexors. You're just bending the knees in space, and then the head of the femur shoots down. This bone doesn't bend. When the knee goes up, the hip releases, and that's going to ease up pressure on your low back. Okay, so these are pliés in open leg stretch, is what they're called. Double pliés, because both legs are moving at the same time. This is easing up on these muscles here. When you tuck, you are straining your QL. By doing your ischial tuberosity work, you're tractioning and providing relief through here. You're teaching your legs how to better support your pelvis. Because any problems in the body, you need to look downstream. My back is sore. Let's look at the front of the body all the way down and you'll find the problem. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do after we've done that is we take this, so you've come from open leg, you've just finished your pliés. You take your feet together in frog. Squeeze your bum because you're sitting on it. Big golden rule in Pilates. If you're sitting on your butt, use your butt. Push it down and lean forward. If there's pain, stop. It means that we haven't done enough work in the front of the body. If there's no pain, crank those legs open. Put your hands on them and give them a good push. And you're getting a huge stretch all the way through here. If there's pain, it means that you need to do more work in the front. You need to engage your front to support and release the back, which means you need more of the glute activation. And you probably should do 10 of them each side, all right? If you felt pain in frog, that's how that works for you. If you feel pain, you don't want to get turned off saying, oh, it hurts, my gosh, I can't do this. No, skip past it, don't work through it. move backwards, do more glute activations. The next thing I want to talk about is the side stretch. Very important. The arms are out to the side, you bend one foot, you pick it up and put it over the other side of the knee. Now from here, you just tilt your hips and extend the leg out. It's very important that you do not do this. It's very important you don't shift your body around. Keep it in spot. Simply lift that foot, no movement of the pelvis, and just tilt it over. And if that's as far as you can go, don't worry about it. You're still getting a beautiful stretch. If you could extend the leg out, feel that diagonal stretch happening. And if you can't, don't worry about it. The idea is, the magic's on this side right now. I'm going to show you on the other side. All the magic's happening here right now. Right into there. You can bend the knee or you can straighten the leg. Trying to get the shoulder blade down and then back. All right, so from here we need to get a little movement happening. So you're going to rock your legs open and closed and taking deep, slow breaths. This is called rocking legs. Breathing in, 2, 3, and breathe out, 2, 3, and 4. Last one. Okay, so for the next thing that you want to do is lie down on your stomach again. Put your hands under your forehead. One hand, I prefer stacking one in front of the other, because if you put one hand on top of the other, your head might be too high. Legs are hip width apart. These are called heel sways, and you're going to feel this right into your groin. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, sway both heels to one side and stay there. Inhale, wait. Exhale, sway them all the way to the other side. I can feel that going right into the front of my hip. Breathing in and exhale. Breathing in and exhale. So your legs are hip width apart and you're swaying your heels right past center every time. Clunk. Inhale, exhale, sway. Inhale and exhale, sway. That is such an important exercise for relaxing the hips. It's unbelievable. And it's just so basic and small. There's not a lot to it. So again, we're talking about back pain. Now, when you have back pain, you need to think about what you're doing with your pelvis. If you go into 4-point kneeling, which is what this is, the first rule in 4-point kneeling is support the weight of the head. Keep it in line with your spine. The second thing is, what are you doing with your tail? Don't tuck it under. Reach out through those ischial tuberosity, your sits bones. They are pointing in the same direction as your skull. Push the tops of the feet down. Teach your pelvis to receive your legs. Your hips don't move your legs move themselves. This teaches your hips to be a receptacle rather than a mobilizer. Breathing in back. Now squeeze your tush and together, but you don't squeeze and tuck. Okay, we don't want that. You must stay flat. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. 2 more. One more. So, the other thing about back pain is that when you have back pain, you'll also notice that your abdominals aren't firing very well. You feel like they're just hanging out. And so you're suffering with pain and you're suffering with frustration over the fact that your body isn't, it's not working. The back is working and the front isn't. And that's the problem. It needs to be the other way around. We need to teach the front to work in order for the back to be supported. You can't do that if the glutes aren't switching on or if you're tucking all the time. So let's talk a little bit about knees to chest, which is a QL release. QL being these muscles here in your back, quadratus lumborum. You interlace your hands if you can underneath your knees. You could do it like this if you have to, it's fine. The key is not to pull your knees to your chest. You must keep your arms straight so your tail is down. Inhale, prepare, let your feet just drop right down. Exhale, flex your feet. 2, 3, and 4. Breathe in, point. Exhale, flex. So this is kind of neat because my back was hurting me severely yesterday. I could barely sit down. It was from excessive gardening and stress. And what had happened was I'd overused one side of my back too much. And it hurt. Everything hurt. It wasn't until I switched on my glutes and switched on my core again that the pain literally just disappeared instantly. I did about 20 minutes of work, and a lot of it involved glute activation. Also, putting the shovel away didn't hurt either. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is standing. Because when you get up and start walking around, you don't want to lose integration. You want things to still work for you. So if you're walking and you feel pain in your back, you need to think about how you're walking, right? So let's talk about the feet and talk about what we need from them. The feet and the legs support everything above it, right? The legs are your tree trunk and your feet are your roots. Stand with your feet tight together. It's called tripod. Inhale, lift all 10 toes up into the air. Exhale, lower them down. You're not rising up onto your toes. You're lifting your toes up, and you're not falling back on your heels to do that. It's switching on the front of the body. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, toes up, and exhale. What this is doing for you, it's plumbing you up. You cannot physically lift your toes up in the air and do this tripod if you're weighted back in space. Right? Right? Length, length. Press the feet down and flex the feet, toes up and down. You're switching on pelvic floor right now. Your pelvic floor begins in the arch of the foot, in the sole, and goes all the way up into your pelvis. So these are some tools that will help you feel more comfortable approaching movement. When there's pain, the first thing we do is we become afraid of moving. And we want to mask or resolve that pain any way we can. That's human nature. My goal with these online classes is to empower people with more options to be able to help themselves and help those in their families who are struggling. I hope this information has been helpful for you. Please don't hesitate to check out the remaining library of courses that are all about different areas of pain, and thank you for tuning in.